That's why KU's having a hard time this year. We're not getting any of them hometown cooking refs.
This conference will now be recorded.
When they voted, they transferred it to the Navy. Then they transferred.
I went and started the YouTube.
Hey, so I just got my. Yeah, so I'm officially. Hey, baby, the kiss. Brad? Chief Petty.
Never made chief petty officer in the Navy.
Oh, no, Lex.
Oh, yeah?
Well, she got me as whoever it was. They were actually going down Lexington, and they were riding on the path. Yes, and they were on
It doesn't take a picture.
actually, it looked like one of those cart things.
When they medically separated and kicked me to the curb.
I said, at least get on the sidewalk, now that's why we put it there.
I know, I was trying to do
Come down. I know where they come
Yeah, I have
from,
a.
like high school, down to the low valley and first, as you head out.
How'd they find that out?
They were turning around.
Because I was having a lot of
across the
shade.
street. Here's a
I'm like,
guy out
oh,
in the middle of the
that's funny
street,
to
right in
know.
front
It's
of me.
a very new thing, so they're like, yeah, we can't fix you, so.
Oh,
Yeah, that's
big deal.
one of those cart
And I saw him, I said, okay, you're gonna go around him and then get off into the bike lane. No, he's right there.
I saw him, he was off to the side.
No flags,
Oh, that's why we have to see.
Did you start it yet?
I have, yeah. I started the recording, and I see you're on. You're on the Zoom.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. It's 7 o'clock. Call the March 20th DeSoto City Council meeting to order. We will start with roll call, please.
Hannah Michael.
Here.
Daniels.
Present virtually.
Tripp. McMorrin.
Here.
Lane.
Here.
Council member Tripp is absent.
All right. I would invite you all to please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America,
to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, our first item tonight is our consent agenda. Tonight on the consent agenda, we have approved minutes from the February 20th City Council meeting, approved pay ordinance number 993, approve agreement with GBA for the wastewater treatment plant stormwater management plan, approve agreement with Bartlett and West for the Riverfest master plan project, approve agreement with PEC and KDOT for Sunflower Road Trail construction inspection, and approved contract with Toshiba for the records digitalization project. Is there any item anyone would wish to remove for further discussion?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion of the motion? Roll call, please.
Daniels.
Yes.
Hannah Michael.
Yes.
McMorrin.
Yes.
Lane.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right. Item 2 is call to public. Members of the public are welcome to use this time to comment about any matter relating to city business not listed on tonight's agenda. The comments that are discussed under call to public may or may not be acted on by the council during this meeting, and there is a 4-minute time limit. Does anyone wish to address the council under call to public? I'm not seeing any takers, so we'll go to item 3, old business. We don't have any, so we'll start with item 4A, consider text ordinance 2645, amending the city code to include authorization for timed parking spaces.
Yes, council, this item's been discussed in prior meetings. It simply allows for 2 timed spaces in front of the ice cream shop Chills, and then 1 space in front of KJ's Pizza. And then the food pantry, I noticed they had signs up for the 3 spaces in front of City Hall, so I went ahead and included those spaces in the ordinance, just so it's included in the city code with all the other parking restrictions, so. For any questions?
Just to be clear, on the section 2 where it talks about directs direct to procure signage to be installed, and the city will actually do the installation. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay, just want to clarify that.
Two questions, I guess. One would be that coordination of the location with the businesses, I guess. And then, so I'd ask staff would work with the businesses for that final location. And then, did I hear right, just one space at KJ's?
Yeah, that's all they,
Yeah, that's all they wanted.
Okay, all right.
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 2645, amending the city code to provide additional parking restrictions in downtown DeSoto on 83rd Street and on 84th Street for the food pantry.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion of the motion? Roll call, please.
Lane,
Yes.
McMorrin,
Yes.
Hanamichael,
Yes.
Daniels.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right. Item B, consider ordinance 2646 rezoning 10680 Evening Star Road from C2 to M1.
All right, thank you, Mayor and Council. What you do have before you is a rezoning request. This tract was actually brought into the city in mid-2024 and rezoned to C2. The applicant is now asking for the southern half of the tract to be zoned M1 Light Industrial. Just for your information, there also is a pending special use permit based upon this rezoning request. Even though that's not part of what we look at tonight, I just thought it's good information that you know that there is an active application for the southern 12 acres, or actually I think it's 15 acres of the tract under consideration. We've done all the perfunctory mailing, signs, things like that. We did have some residents express some concerns at the Planning Commission meeting, and that is indicated in the minutes. But I do have on page 2, it shows the tract that was annexed into the city. The northern half is C2, and then the southern half is currently C2, but that's the piece that is being requested to be rezoned to light industrial. And it is along Evening Star Road. Evening Star Road itself is south of 103rd Street, is a gravel 2-lane road, so it does need improvements for either of these two zoning districts to be viable. Then you can also see on page 3, the aerial shows the nature of the area. As you can see, it's very rural. Actually, the surrounding properties are RUR, it's rural Johnson County, and then across the Evening Star is still RUR, but that is also part of the Sunflower Development, and also some of it is owned by the Kansas Board of Regents. Go through the zoning compatibility factors. The character of the neighborhood, as you can see, is very rural. There's not even very many residences out nearby. There is one north near Evening Star Road, which is at this point, I believe, vacant. Is that correct? I think the landowners moved out upon the sale of the property. There are a few farther west on 103rd Street. Compatibility of the proposed zoning, as we've talked about, with the Southwest Growth Area Plan, even though this tract isn't in there, this whole area, as we know, is in a transition to a more higher and intense use for this portion of DeSoto. As far as suitability of uses, which the property is restricted, it has not been really any proposed uses for this property. It's only been recently annexed into the city of DeSoto. Its use for the most recent past has been agriculture, and it is still plowed ground at this time. Like the time the property is being remained as vacant. And that's where I mentioned the concrete batch plant is pending the outcome of this rezoning request. So there have not been any previous applications or discussions for specific use for this tract. The extent to which there's a need in the community, as I've stated earlier, we are looking to grow and expand and benefit from the
We figure out which.
Yep.
So I was saying this is part of the area that DeSoto is growing, expanding, and in a transition from agricultural and rural uses to much more intense uses. This will generate additional sales tax and property tax for the city. And one thing to point out is the sales tax is only collected for the city of DeSoto for sales of the concrete that are within the city limits. If the concrete is sent off into Eudora, Douglas County, or areas of Johnson County that are not in city limits, the city will not collect any sales tax for that delivery. As far as the negatives with this site, the only thing that really pops up, as we've talked about in many rezoning requests lately, is the lack of utilities. There is a water main along 103rd Street that's operated by Water District 7. Electricity is available, but there aren't any planned improvements for sanitary sewer along this tract. And also, as I mentioned, the Evening Star south of 103rd Street is a gravel road. It's also on our future land use map as showing a connection that will ultimately go through the Sunflower property and potentially be some sort of expressway to connect down to I-35. Extents that the proposed zoning would adversely affect the capacity or safety of this street network. Again, it's a gravel road, but the interchange has been vastly improved. There's a significant interchange or a roundabout at Evening Star and K10 Highway, and it is a critical access point to the Panasonic and Sunflower or Astra development. Don't see any potential harm for rezoning from, and actually should be M1, or from C2 to M1. I'd missed that in the staff report. And that is a neutral connotation with that item. Economic impact, there will be potentially, if the special use permit does get through, there'll be significant property tax generated from this site, and also sales tax revenue for sales of concrete within DeSoto city limits. There are a variety of uses and that can be in the M1 district, but the whole, much of the Sunflower tract has been over 1,000 acres, have already been rezoned to M1. The Flint development is nearby at Evening Star and 103rd on the northeast corner. So there is some continuity with this zoning request. Also looking at the comprehensive plan, and the future land use map does show the northern area is commercial and the southern area of this tract to be light industrial. So with those, looking at the criteria, staff did recommend to the Planning Commission to approve this rezoning request, and the Planning Commission did concur with that, and they have brought forward a recommendation to the City Council to change the C2 designation to M1. And with that, I will stand for any questions you have, Mayor, and the applicant is in the audience tonight.
Any questions from council for Brad or the applicant? All right, without not hearing any discussion, I think we're ready for a motion, and someone want to make a motion?
Yeah, I will make a motion to approve the rezoning from C2 Business General to M1 Light Industrial for that property located along Evening Star Road south of 103rd Street.
I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion of the motion? Roll call, please.
Daniel,
Yes.
Hannah Michael,
Yes.
McMorrin,
Yes.
Blaine,
Yes.
Walker.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay. Thank you. Item C, consider resolution 2061 designating additional real property proposed to be part of DeSoto Reinvestment Housing Incentive District.
Yes, council, as indicated in the memo in your packet, this essentially is a cleanup. We need to get approval over some additional area that was not included in the legals originally sent to the Secretary of Commerce. So thought the easiest thing would be to just resubmit on these two developments. So that's what resolution 2061 does. Recommend for approval. Happy to answer any questions.
All right, any questions for Patrick regarding the resolution?
I'll make a motion to adopt resolution 2061 for Commerce's approval of RHID eligibility for the Arbor Ridge and Grotto Limestone development locations.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion of the motion? Roll call, please.
Lane,
Yes.
McMorrin,
Yes.
Daniel,
Yes.
Hanamichael.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right. Item D, consider resolution 2062 establishing benefit district for the provision of sanitary sewer service to properties along 95th Street and Lexington Avenue.
Mayor, I'd make a motion to table this item probably until the next meeting, so we've got full council attendance, since this is a important matter for discussion.
All right.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? All right. Item E, discuss CIP update.
Yes, council. So you remember when we talked about this at the last meeting, we laid out a schedule. Tonight, this is put on the agenda, not just as a placeholder, but to make sure that we keep momentum going with the CIP update. There was just a placeholder memo in the packet that said, "I'll get you a good master list," which I have done. So if you go to the overall council packet link, you'll see now there's a spreadsheet in there, CIP master list spreadsheet. I'm going to pull that up. Pull that up now. This is if you click the link and get into here, and I need to adjust the view on here if I can. Basically, what this does is it lists all the projects that have been submitted. These were in the overall packet of information that you got last time. Got a brief description, estimated cost, and then there's some hyperlinks in this spreadsheet that create a lot of, or they're linked to the background information on these. So this is just another step in the process of getting all these in one place so that you can be able to digest them. What I'll do tomorrow, Whitney's helping me with a SurveyMonkey poll that will go out to the council members that'll list all the projects here and ask you to not rank them individually, but let us know your feelings about how important any particular these projects are. So I'll get that link out to you tomorrow. Again, there's a lot of work being done here to get all the information, make these cost estimates as accurate as we can get them. Some of them are very much ballparks at this point. But so that's the activity that's been going on. You'll see that link, survey link tomorrow. We will ask you to go through and fill out that survey over the next several weeks. We do have work sessions in the schedule. Work sessions contemplated for April 17th and May 15th, or is it May 5th? Can't remember which. Doesn't make sense. I think it was May 15th. Is that right? Is that council meeting date? May 5th is? So May 15th is, though.
Yes.
Okay.
No. Yes. Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry, the first is on a Thursday, so
Okay.
I got all messed up there.
So if you could just check your calendars for those 2 days, if you would be available. Now, I guess I'd caveat that if we have full agenda items those evenings, it's looking like we might, that we may have the work session, an hour before the council meeting. If the agendas are looking light, we might just have kind of a workshop discussion during the council meeting itself. So maybe just pencil those in as maybes. You have those available. If you're not available either one of those dates, let me know.
Which again? The third?
May 17th,
The 17th.
May 15th, April 17th.
May 15th.
April 17th.
417, 515.
Yes.
April 17th.
The second meeting.
Second meeting of both month, correct.
Mike, maybe just a technicality, but on the survey, will other council members be able to see how other council members rank things?
No, not until the results are
Okay, good.
tabulated.
Yeah.
We would see those.
There won't be a it'll be a true survey forms
Yeah.
shipped out there.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't have anything else on that. Just
Okay.
about any feedback you have so far, any
Uh,
questions you have so far.
You know, we had a sidewalk project at one time to connect City Hall, Community Center, pool area down to 83rd Street.
Yeah.
Is that on the list?
It's on here. I don't
Okay.
think it was on the list we had last week, last meeting.
I didn't see it.
It's here now.
Okay.
It's in that spreadsheet. Yeah.
I want to make sure we got that back in there.
Yep.
Since we're running fast, I kind of want to ask, can I ask a question about a project on here? And Joe, it's one I called you about. Where are we at with the options of the situation with 83rd Street Railroad Bridge relative to the whole
Yeah.
deal with the clearance? And so, you know, what are the options in which direction we might end up going with this versus
Yeah.
stalled?
So there's, I guess the minimum option if we use federal funds is to meet KDOT's minimum requirement, which is like 23 feet. BNFS is a little bit higher. We've got about 1.5 million in federal aid, so we would have to follow that. So I've asked Lochner to give me a price to go to KDOT's minimum height to basically modify the design, higher retaining walls, some additional easements and grading. So I'm waiting to hear that. I should get that I should get that next week. Cost probably go up about $2 million. So I think we're looking at, I think we originally were at $4 million. I think we're closer to $6 million and talking with Lochner about that. We did try to go get some additional federal aid to this current round of call for projects through Mark. We were not successful in doing that. There are many other projects that were ahead of us that were funded. I looked at getting CARS funding through the county. This is not a CARS eligible route, so we're not eligible to request funding through CARS on this. So it would be a decision if the city wanted to ante up the difference in the 1.5 million, what we've already spent to cover the cost of the replacement. I talked with Lochner about potentially, can we just rehab the bridge? But there's so much work. We'd have to redo the deck. We probably have to do the abutments and maybe the columns. So you're really down to almost a full bridge replacement. And I think KDOT would still say, well, you probably need to get a green light from BNSF. We're hoping maybe that if waiting for approval with the railroad abandoning the railroad for K10, whether that may help us a little bit and not having to meet BNSF's height requirement. Then of course the other option is we give the federal funds back. We look at doing it ourselves, and we're not obligated to build to a certain height with KDOT, but we would probably build it without having BNSF approval. But they may get involved with that. But
And that still leaves us on the hook for $3 million if we did it on our own?
yeah, well, yeah, I think closer to $4 million if you don't have to build it to. If we can go back to, was it 21?
Yeah, if we did what we originally wanted.
Yeah. I think it was like
Which is
21.7.
increase the existing clearance, by a couple feet.
Yeah.
That was the original scoped project, yeah, and that's now,
Yeah.
originally it was 2.7,
Mm-hmm.
now that's up to 4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. What were you gonna say?
The KDOT grants are still 800,000. What is it?
Well, it's 1.5 million.
It is 1.5.
Yeah.
And it's still there. We
Yeah.
haven't.
Yeah, we pushed it down the street to 2026. So that'll probably be the last time they'll allow us. Either we'll need to start design or
We've
finish
really-
design and go after easements
Right.
and move forward with doing it in 2026 or give the money back to Mark.
We've really been biding some time while this rail abandonment issue with KDOT and Astra kind of worked itself out, because we think that may change the position of either KDOT or BNSF about what height standard applies here. So that's been the hope.
But regardless, then the budget item
It
is
needs to
bigger.
be,
So when we go out, when we start talking about a survey of kind of how we feel about things or prioritization or what, almost everything on here is like, we could do that or we couldn't do that. This is one we're kind of in the middle of.
Yeah.
In many ways. But there aren't many options to not do anything with this one.
You close the road.
You close the road, right? So, I mean, this is sort of its own. You know, are there any?
Yeah.
What's the range of options and the range of costs or commitment for the different scenarios that it may be? If we wait it out, don't have to build it to the KDOT requirements. What's that out of pocket? If we end up losing the federal money and do it, you know, it's almost like we need to look at a few different options on this one within
Yeah.
itself.
Yeah.
How do you put it all in one line? You can't really
You can't.
put all that in one line.
I think a lot of that bridge though is the functional, I don't know that the structural was, I'd have to refresh look at the study again, the latest bridge report, but it was the obsolescence, the rails, the width, the pedestrian. I don't know that like the deck and the substructure and things were.
There's no glaring structural deficiency rating. It was a functional deficiency
There's
rating.
a real problem, obviously, with the pedestrian accommodation
yeah.
on it. The railing's nothing close to what it would be for current standards,
Then we will be doing bridge inspections this year, so we'll have a current bridge inspection.
Have
So,
them run because maybe there is a better option. Maybe the option is, all right, leave the damn, let's take the pedestrians off of that, let's build a separate
The
pedestrian
separate
bridge.
pedestrian bridge.
If we're gonna do it on our dime, let's build something that works
Yeah.
for us, and if that bridge will stand and support our traffic, maybe we dress up the railings, get the pedestrians off there, and, but you can tell, this project still bothers the heck out of me. That,
Oh, yeah.
Because it's going to tie up some budget one way or the other.
Yeah.
And it's burning time or taking time. So anyway, that's probably enough on that. I just wanted to start getting some of that out on the table to.
yeah, the flatter you keep it, the less expensive it becomes because we've got so many retaining. I think there's six, 7 different retaining walls
Mm-hmm.
down there. So the higher it goes, the higher the cost is for the retaining. That's what's driving the cost.
A lot more impactful to the neighborhood.
Yeah, there
Oh,
was
yeah.
Property, there's
Access to the.
impact.
Road realignments and
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
That's all.
What was you thinking about the pedestrian?
I don't know yet. That's just me swinging shooting from the hip, Danny.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if you had an idea.
Nope.
Okay,
But I got a vision in my head, but it's
okay.
offset on its own.
84th Street.
Yeah,
84th Street used to go.
yeah,
Now, you do pedestrian bridges for a lot less.
yeah, right.
But didn't we also at one time think about lowering the rail?
Yeah, that's my. If you need that dang clearance, then get out there with your excavator and drop your rail down. Because you did it, it worked for you to begin with, and it's worked for a long time. If it don't work anymore, that's your problem. You need to adjust the rail.
Yeah.
All right. Well, anything else on this before we move on? We got squirrel on the mic there.
We got it. I got it.
All right, good job. All right.
Okay, well, thank you, council. Look for that survey. Yeah, if I'll see what makes sense on this, and get that survey out tomorrow.
I think your point was make sure the costs are as reflective as we, like
As
this
we know it
2.7,
today.
let's put this at what we really think
Yeah.
it
$4
would be,
million.
like $4
Yeah.
million.
Yeah.
Good point, well taken, because that makes a big difference in the ranking as well.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, council.
All right. Well, then we'll move on. We don't have any executive sessions, so Mike, carry on, advisory report.
Yeah, 2 things, council. First thing, this week I emailed you about some emergency repairs that we need to to enact on 84th and Ottawa Street, and then one along Lexington Avenue. That quote came from Wiedemann Incorporated. The total is $133,600. Recommended funding partly from the sewer maintenance fund and partly from general fund. I'd like to ask council make a motion to approve this proposal from Wiedemann.
Do we think this has anything to do with moving that 80-ton transformer across that street? I think it might have.
We can certainly look into that.
Okay,
We'll get with every, we'll get with every tomorrow.
All right. You want that motion first?
Yes. if
All
we
right.
could.
Any questions or we're ready for a motion on that sewer project?
I'll make a motion
I'll
to,
make a motion that we-
go for it, Rob.
that we approve the amount mentioned by Mike of around $134,000 for emergency sewer repairs.
Second?
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion of the motion? Roll call, please.
Lane,
Yes.
McMorrin,
Yes.
Hanamichael.
Yes.
Daniels.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right.
Thank you, council. Yeah, the other thing was a reminder about those workshop dates. So we've already covered that.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, city attorney.
Yes, council, only thing I had, I emailed you earlier today. There are a couple agreements that the city had years and years ago, interlocal cooperation agreements with the county that are no longer in operation. They've expired. So this termination and release agreement I prepared just so we can record it in the land record. So because I'll frequently get calls from people asking, you know, when they do a title search, these agreements still show up in the title work. So by entering this agreement, it'll make clear that these two agreements are no longer in existence. So just ask for a motion to authorize the mayor to sign off on this termination agreement.
All right, any questions from council?
I'll make a motion to authorize the mayor to enter into the said requested termination agreements.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion of the motion? Roll call, please.
Hanamichael.
Yes.
Daniels.
Yes.
McMorrin.
Yes.
Lane.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right. Got your
That's it.
report? All right, city planner, anything for the group?
Nothing tonight, Mayor, thank
All
you.
right. City engineer.
Now, you've probably seen the construction starting on the permanent signals there in Lexington. So they'll work on putting the foundations in on the south one. Once they pour the concrete, they'll move up to Commerce. And once that's done, concrete secured, they'll start boring for all the underground wiring, and then be in a position when the poles get delivered. I think they're a month out. They'll fabricate them there at Tetsasaya and then set them up. We'll be done well in advance of school. And
It'll be done by the time school lets out? You're
I don't
thinking
know.
next year when school starts is what you're saying, I know.
I think more about when it starts, yes.
All right, thank you, Joe.
I have something from Brandon.
All right, yes, yeah.
Yes, an announcement. Brandon and his wife Whitney welcomed their firstborn yesterday. Samuel Owen Mills, 8.0 ounces, 8 pounds 0 ounces. Mother and son doing well.
Good.
Brandon's out for a couple weeks at least. So good news there.
Yeah. Thank you, Mike. Council comments. Rob, you're remote. I'll let you start if that works.
Just congratulations, Brandon. Beyond that, I have nothing else tonight.
All right. Danny, anything for the group?
Nothing, Mayor, thank you very much.
Victoria?
Nothing for me.
All right.
Nothing.
Nothing.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right. All in favor, say aye.
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 All right. Thank you, everybody.
This conference is
See you,
no
Rob.